I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. The midterm election this year is set to make history for women candidates. Stacey Abrams, a Democrat from Georgia, could become the first black woman governor in America. Young Kim, a Republican in California, could become the first female Korean-American to be elected to Congress. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's 28 years old, could be the youngest woman ever elected to Congress after her upset win over a 10-term incumbent in New York's 14th district. That covers the Bronx and parts of Queens. Those are just a few examples, but the list is long, and it includes Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts. She also defeated a 10-term incumbent to represent parts of Boston and its suburbs, and she's now running unopposed and is set to become Massachusetts' first black member of Congress. It's so nice to have you with us today, and congratulations to you. You're from a very liberal state and a diverse state. How is it possible? I mean, I was truly stunned to read that you will be the first black person in Congress from Massachusetts, yes, and that you were the first black woman on the city council. That's kind of crazy.
Yes, it is. And it is hard to believe that in the 230-year history of our delegation that there has never been a person of color to serve in that delegation. And it is also true that I have the humbling honor, although the sad commentary, of being the first woman of color elected to the Boston City Council. But I think my election and the subsequent election on the City Council of 5 more women of color is evidence that the electorate is shifting.
That's interesting. So the electorate shifting, what do you think that's due to? There are some people who've said, listen, it is due to Donald Trump's existence. Some have said, oh, it's due to Hillary Clinton's example to bring more women into at least running for office. What do you think it's due to?
Well, I think ultimately people do see the benefit and understand that we are all better served by leadership parity, by cognitive diversity around decision-making tables and the corridors of power. When you have a diversity of perspective, opinion, and thought, it means that ultimately the issues that are championed are more robust and fully informed. And I do believe ultimately the solutions are more innovative and more enduring.
Is your victory also a look at what could happen for the Democrats come November in the midterms? There are some people who would say, hey, listen, this is the future of the Democratic Party is really a progressive movement that's getting very strong. Other people would say, well, listen, people run as they need to run in the communities they're in. And if being progressive is going to work, then you do that. If being more conservative is going to work where you are maybe further out west from where you sit today, that's going to work for Democrats. What do you think?
Well, what I can say that we modeled in our campaign is I don't think it's anything new. It's a return to the foundational tenets of democracy and to the roots of the Democratic Party. I reject the notion that we have to choose between whether or not we are the party of jobs and the economy or of criminal justice reform, or if this is the party of working class, of white people and everyone else. And I think that we have gotten away from that, and we have to move beyond hashtags and bumper sticker slogans. We have to engage and hear from all voices and stop making assumptions about who is a likely voter, who cares to participate in their democracy, and who deserves a seat at the table.
Is that going to be problematic? Good on the ground in your district, but when it actually gets to the halls of Congress, that bridge building, as I don't need to tell you because you're well aware, there were lots of groups who one would have thought that they would be shouting with joy that a black woman was running to potentially be the first woman of color, a black woman who could be in Congress in the state, and instead they were supporting your opponent, who's also liberal, Mike Capuano, who served for 19 years. Yes. I mean, the Congressional Black Caucus supported him. Emily's List, which honored you, did not come out in support of you. Elizabeth Warren could have said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. She chose not to. Does that become problematic when you actually get to Washington, D.C. and have to work with those very groups who were more excited about his campaign in some ways than yours?
Well, I'm not sure that's a fair characterization. I don't think that they were not excited at the prospect of making history. But to be clear, you know, in the recesses of my mind, I was aware that if we were successful, we would make history. But that's not why I ran. I ran to make change. And there was a lot of debate about whether or not this was a campaign about identity politics, which I also found very offensive. It's a very predictable play out of the GOP handbook, and it is a charge that is only lobbied against women and people of color. I am unapologetically and obviously black and a woman, but that is not the totality of my identity. You know, I am a legislator, I am an activist, I'm a problem solver, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I was a caregiver to my mother, end of life. I ran because I wanted to bring a brand of bold activist leadership, movement and coalition building, which I think is in keeping with what the times require.
Ayanna Pressley joining us. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your primary victory.
Thank you so
and
much.
Also history making. It's so nice to have you with us. Appreciate it.
All right.